I'm Tom Baker, this is Chasing Cars, and next to me is the new Kia EV5. This is a seriously critical vehicle for Kia. We've already seen the EV6, the EV9 is about to launch in Australia, but the EV5 is a more affordable, fully electric mid-size SUV play for the brand. It's built in China, it's got an LFP battery, it's promising something like 600 kilometers of range in longest range trim, and we've come to Korea to take a first look in and around the EV5. So we're going to start by having a bit of a walk around of this vehicle, which is a little smaller than a Tesla Model Y, but of course we'll be targeting that vehicle as the sales leader in Australia. In this video, I'll start by showing you around the EV5. I only had a few minutes in person with the car, so once we've looked around it, we'll come back to the studio and I'll take you through all the important facts that you must know about this new SUV. So here in front of me is the new Kia EV5. Now this is the production version. This is not a concept car, which I think is very exciting. And if we jump inside the interior, you'll see that what we've got here is effectively a scaled down version of Kia's new EV9. We'll go and check out the driver's seat in just a moment. But here in the back, you notice that despite this vehicle only being about 4.6 meters long, we've got a really good amount of legroom here as well, and nice quality materials being used throughout. It's not meant to be an expensive vehicle though. The EV5 will be taking on the Model Y directly. It's a little bit smaller than a Model Y, but I think it's a presentable vehicle. I think it's quite handsome. Obviously a very blocky car, adopting Kia's Opposites United design language. Now in here, you'll notice the dual 12.3 inch screens. We've got a driver's display. And then if we come around here, we have a touchscreen as well, sort of like a taupey brown theme on this car. Perforated, cooled PU seats rather than leather. Hard touch doors, however, is a bit of a disappointment. As I mentioned, the EV5 is going to be built in China, and underneath the skateboard platform there, it's got an LFP battery. 88 kilowatt hours of total capacity is the biggest version, so expect around 84 kilowatt hours net. Now, the Chinese range claim is it's over 700 Ks, but those standards are often overly optimistic, so expect around 600 Ks of range WLTP. In the real world, we should be getting high 500s, which is really encouraging. Now, the EV5 will be coming to Australia in 2024. We don't know exactly when during the year as yet, but this vehicle is seriously consequential. And I'd be surprised if we didn't see the standard range model launching for, something around 60 grand. It should undercut the EV6 in Australia. And of course, the target has to be the Tesla Model Y. That's what it looks like to only have 3.5 minutes to take a look around the EV5. But I hope you were able to see what the design is like. Now, I'd like to take you through all the important facts and figures and details about the EV5, now that we're back in the peace and quiet of the studio. The first thing to know is that this is a production car. It's not a concept. Some of the other vehicles that you might have seen on the stage here are still in the concept phase of their life, but this is the real EV5. It's already in production in China. And in a shock development, Australia's EV5 sourcing will come from China. That's a good thing for a number of reasons. It means that Australia will get its hands on the Kia EV5 sooner, because that production is already starting and our units will be built in 2024 with a release in 2024. The EV5 will also be built in Korea, and European EV5s will come from Korea, at least for now. But Korean production only starts in 2025. I also think it's important to realize just how critical the EV5 is for Kia. Even though this brand has shown us that it can build very good to drive sophisticated EVs, like cars including the EV6 and the forthcoming EV9, they're still pretty expensive. The EV5 is Kia's first real attempt to build a volume SUV at scale with an electric powertrain at a price that can really compete with the market leader. And of course, that vehicle is the Tesla Model Y. Even though the Kia EV5 is not sized to directly compete with the Model Y, it's about 13 centimeters shorter than the Tesla. It'd be a lie to say that the Model Y isn't the clear target for the Kia EV5. And there are many similarities between the strategies being used by Tesla and that being adopted by Kia, including a multi-production source approach. We know about Korean and Chinese production, but it's also possible the EV5 will go into production in Europe, although for now it's not going to be built or sold in the United States. For EV5s that come from China, It's very likely that these vehicles will only use lithium iron phosphate or LFP batteries. And for EV5s that have LFP batteries, we already know a lot about the composition and size of these batteries. Kia has confirmed that a standard range version of the EV5 to be built in China will use a 64 kilowatt hour battery in gross size, so probably about 60 kilowatt hours net, while a long range version of the car has an 88 kilowatt hour gross battery, probably around 84 kilowatt hours net. Korean production will see the EV5 built using nickel manganese cobalt batteries, or NMC packs, at first, and they're slightly smaller, 58 and 81 kilowatt hours gross, so slightly less than those figures net. As a result, if Australian cars are locked in for LFP batteries, which is almost certain, we will be benefiting from an EV5 spec that has longer range, and also the benefit of LFP packs is that they can be charged more regularly to 100% instead of an advisory limit of 80% with most NMC packs. So if you do long distances on a regular basis, the Chinese spec EV5 with LFP batteries will be beneficial. LFP batteries are also a little more affordable than NMC packs, but that's not the only way that Kia has cut costs with the EV5 in order to more easily take on the Tesla Model Y on price. It also uses a diluted and more affordable version of Kia's sophisticated EGMP dedicated electric car architecture. So far, we've only seen EGMP cars that use the full-fat 800-volt variation of that platform. The EV5 is not an 800-volt car. It's a 400-volt vehicle that uses EGMP. Reduced costs from limiting it to 400-volt will make the purchase price more affordable, but it limits charging performance, especially when compared to the EV6, which is so impressive. Peak charging speeds for the EV5 will be above 120 kilowatts, but Kia wouldn't go any further than that. And that compares to a peak of over 230 kilowatts for the EV6. We do have a charging time metric provided by Kia, which is 27 minutes to recharge the EV5's long-range battery from 30 to 80%. With an EV6, you can recharge its long-range battery from 20 to 80% in 18 minutes. So as you can see, by opting for the cheaper EV5, you are getting a less practical experience with public charging. As for range, Kia has only released its Chinese market range expectations for this vehicle, which are usually much more optimistic than WLTP. However, I'm in a position where I can give you some educated guesses on how much range we'll expect to get out of the EV5 in Australia. I think that the standard range version of the EV5 will be rated at about 460 kilometers of range. Stepping up to the long-range version of the car should net somewhere around 630 kilometers of claimed range, whereas opting for dual-motor all-wheel drive would dilute this to around 570 kilometers. In Korea, with the slightly smaller battery packs, the range claims will probably be a little less than what I've just quoted for the LFP car. In a further upending of the way Kia has done its EVs in recent years, the EV5 will have a dominant front motor rather than a dominant rear motor. And single-motor versions of this Kia will be front-wheel drive, not rear-wheel drive. With the smaller battery, only front-wheel drive will be available, whereas the long-range battery will give the option of all-wheel drive. Power figures will be 160 kilowatts for the front-wheel drive version, and going for all-wheel drive adds a smaller 70 kilowatt motor to the rear axle. And with the LFP cars, the combined power for the all-wheel drive version is indeed 230 kilowatts. A heat pump will be standard, as will regenerative braking with a selectable one-pedal driving mode. Now, what about pricing? This will of course be critical to make the EV5 as successful as it could be for Kia. And again, I think the Tesla Model Y simply must be the main target in Australia and in other markets where that vehicle is so dominant. If I was planning the product for Kia Australia, I'd be wanting to target a very sharp entry price of under $60,000 for this vehicle, because it isn't up to the Tesla standard in terms of charging performance, and it's a smaller car as well. So we probably need to see it enter somewhere under the market-leading Tesla. That's if Kia does indeed want to make this a volume play. But all the signs show that Kia intends for the EV5 to do very big business for the brand, as it targets an annual EV sales goal of 1 million cars by 2026. So that's a first look at the new Kia EV5. What do you think of this vehicle? What do you think of the changes that Kia has made to make their EVs more affordable. Very keen to know your opinions. Please let me know down in the comments, and thanks for watching.